and try to lift him up, you can't move him. If he doesn't do that, you can pick him right up. But if he does what he's supposed to do, you can't get his feet off the floor.
Why not?
Well, because the harder you lift, you're not lifting him up. Most of your energy is deflected, although you don't know it, into pushing him backward.
To try and get him up.
Yeah. You don't realize that's what you're doing. But I can teach any kid in 5 minutes to do that. There's a guy who used to travel around the country defying a local wrecker to pick him off the ground, and they couldn't do it.
With a truck?
Yeah, with a truck.
I guess this was one of the. He would make some money.
Well, yeah, he got paid by the wrecking company and everybody.
Round up a crowd and collect.
Yeah. It's all a matter of deflecting force.
Do you recall who did the first slide you saw?
The first slide was Suicide Gamble,
What year would that have been?
1934.
Was it his idea?
I don't know whose idea it was. I don't think Griffin ever had an idea in his life.
Griffin and Gamble are the same.
Yeah, same guy.
How come he has two names?
Well, to avoid lawsuits, I suppose. Particularly paternity raps.
He was a ladies' man.
Well, they all tried to be.
Who all?
All of them.
The sliders?
The drivers, the mechanics, everybody. That's one reason they were traveling.
For what, to meet?
Partly to explore new territory, and partly to get away from where they were.
They didn't like being in one spot?
No, they're too easy to pick up. I tell you, they were dodging the sheriff.
For one reason or another?
Or two or three.
For one reason or another?
I tell you, they were not ribbon clerks.
I guess, was there ever much trouble?
No. Well, they got into a fight now and then, but it wasn't trouble because the hell drivers won it in about 30 seconds. And that was the end of it. I never knew that Griffin to hit a guy that wasn't a hospital case. In Evansville, Indiana, he literally knocked the guy's face off.
No.
It split his skin from the hairline on his forehead down along the jawline, clear to halfway up the other side. Just peeled his face like a banana.
Was hanging off his nose?
Yeah. They took him out to the hospital and sewed him up like a football. I don't know how many stitches. Boy, he was powerful.
Well, they didn't like to fight, did they?
Oh, there were a couple that didn't mind it much.
They were a different breed.
They were a different breed. The guy Griffin knocked his face off, pulled the gun on our clown at the bar of a hamburger joint. And Griffin was sitting next to this clown, and when he saw that 38 Special, the clown says, "Get him, Griff." Griff took another bite out of his sandwich, laid it down with his left hand, hit across the body of the clown like that. Bam! knocked the guy's face off, and he flew about 6, 7 feet right off of that stool. And boy, that whole restaurant was full of blood.
When he did slides, what equipment would he use?
Well, he'd wear a crash helmet, of course, and a pair of heavy leather gloves, and he'd strap a piece of conveyor belt across his hind end. He'd stand on the back bumper, and when the guy was going about 50, 55, he'd just step off. And if he didn't think he was going fast enough, he'd jump up and down on the back bumper and make the car bounce. And they would pour gasoline on the track with a little crankcase oil in it to make a yellow flame. Pour about a 50-foot path of gasoline and light it, he'd slide right through it.
50 feet?
Yeah, 50 feet. He'd go farther than that if he wanted to, but he'd usually drop his left heel into the ground, which put him into a roll. When he got through the fire, he would roll to a stop. You didn't want to just stop dead and then stand up. It didn't look like anything.
And what were the gloves for?
Keep his fingers on.
Oh, because he was using his hands to slow down?
No, he didn't normally use them, but he might want to if anything went wrong. So they had gloves to protect. Besides, it looked good to the crowd when he put them on.
A little bit of showmanship.
Yeah, they didn't know what he was going to do with them.
Did he only ever perform at fairs?
No, he performed wherever we showed. You know what a still date is?
I think so. Tell me anyway.
Well, if you go to a town and there's nothing going on except your show, and you lease a racetrack and put on a show, and that's it, that's a still date, as compared to a fair or a convention or something where something else is going on and you're part of it.
I see. But he only ever performed as part of the whole show.
Our show, yeah.
Jack.
You wouldn't get a big crowd for just a slide. You have to have a show to go with it.
He sounds like the kind of guy that would do it on a dare.
Well, he did it in Indianapolis on a dare. He got off that racer.
A racer?
Yeah, they had... Indianapolis is full of old racers shoved into barns or something. Somebody had one, they got it out, and they dared him to get off of that one. And he did, right on the city street, 2 o'clock in the morning.
On a city street?
Yeah. They couldn't be on the racetrack. The track was all closed up.
In just his street clothes?
Yeah, with his conveyor belt strapped on over a pair of coveralls.
Huh. That was on a dare?
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Oh, they were in some joint getting a sandwich or something. Some of the locals were popping off, saying they didn't really do all that stuff and everything, and made Griffin mad. And they didn't think he got off at 50 miles an hour. Griffin says, "You got anything to go faster? I'll get off it." They said, "We do," and they went and got this old racer. And it went faster.
What happened when he stepped off?
Everybody but him got arrested.
Everybody but him?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, he was busy taking off his belt and mixing with us, and we all jumped in cars and took off. The other guys were still standing around the racer, and they all got arrested.
For what?
For disturbing the peace, for anything. What the cops care? Anything to get them off the street.
They want to get the town closed down, I guess.
Yeah.
Get some sleep.
They were an interesting group.
All likable fellas?
I liked everybody but Teeter.
I guess that goes for pretty well everybody else except Teeter.
Probably. Well, he had married a Georgia girl. She was a nice gal. Pretty.
Georgia Peach?
Yeah, Georgia Peach. Big mouth and a lot of lipstick like all of them down there. And he was real mean to her. Very discourteous. Made everybody mad by doing that.
She traveled with the show?
For a while.
Did he have any kids?
No.
You had kids then, though, didn't you?
Yeah, I had two, actually. Patty had her third birthday. Well, no, the second one was later. Patty had her third birthday in York, Pennsylvania when we were showing there.
She was visiting?
No, she was traveling with us. Bev and I.
Could you tell me about her season on the road?
Who?
Patty?
Oh, well, I'd made her taken out the back seat of the car and build a bed in it for her. And she was really comfortable. And she used to make friends with the elevator boys, especially. Ride up and down all day in the elevator in the hotel. She set up in the, I can't think of the name of the hotel in Kansas City, the biggest hotel they had. The bellhop made a little table for her and sat in his elevator, and she got out little tiny teacups and was serving everybody tea in the elevator. And on trips, a lot of times the clown would ride with us. He'd entertain Patty for 500 miles. They had a couple of those glove puppets they put on like gloves, you know, and their fingers are the arms and their center finger moves the head. And that one clown was so darn good. He had that monkey puppet. You would swear that thing was alive.
What was his name?
That was Abe. Abe Rademacher.
And just for the sake of getting it on tape, tell me who Patty is.
Patty is our daughter.
Did the other fellows in the show like having her around?
Oh, they would have spoiled her terribly. They wanted to buy her everything she saw, do everything for her, take her every place. She had a ball with those guys. They loved her. On a fairground, they'd carry her all around to see the animals, the cows and the sheep and everything that she wanted to see. They'd take her on the rides. They just spent their time being nice to her. I had to bring them home to keep her from getting spoiled.
I think you mentioned to me before about her, had her trained, she was making quarters?
Oh, yeah. These guys were always trying to pick up girls, and if we had gone downtown to get spark plugs or something, they would find a couple girls to talk to while someone else was in the place buying spark plugs. They're trying to get dated up, and the guys had patty